Under international law, state is defined as independent political entity occupying a defined territory whose members wants to resist external force but at the same time preserve internal force. That means they need law and order. For any civilized society to function, there is always the requirement of law and order. But what do you mean by law? In a layman term, these laws means rules, regulation, bylaws, orders, principles and much more. Who make them? In India, the power is with the legislature. What is the composition of the legislature? From where the legislature derive its authority? What are the powers and privileges of the legislature? Now, when legislature makes law, do these laws have to follow some certain principles? Imagine a situation where one law makes your act offense, but at the same time another law defends you. That would create chaos in the society. Well, the answer to the problem lies in the Indian Constitution. The Constitution of India is considered as the heart and soul of the Indian legal system. Hello, I am Dr. Anju Puneet Singh, teaching in National Law University, Delhi. I welcome you all to the MOOCs program on Advanced Constitutional Law. Today, we will discuss the topic Constitutional History, Making of Indian Constitution in 3 parts. The first part will discuss the introduction, the intent and the need of the Indian Constitution. In the second part, we will discuss the making of the Indian Constitution. And finally, we will see how the Indian Constitution was adopted. What were the factors which came into consideration? What was the situation of the country during the independence? The learning objective of this topic are that we will understand the need of the Indian Constitution, we will study the historical background of the Constitution, we will learn the different stages in the adoption of the Indian Constitution and at last how the Indian Constitution was adopted. Now, coming to the introduction of the Indian Constitution. Our founding fathers, while drafting the Indian Constitution, had 3 ideals in their mind. The first was unity and integrity, second was democracy, and third was social revolution. According to them, unity and integrity could be served through highly centralized federal system, continued inherent central civil services, well-known emergency provisions, state governments appointed by president and much more. Similarly, democracy could be achieved through adult suffrage, Bill of Rights, direct elections and representative government. And lastly, the social revolution. Imagine the situation in the country during independence. There was political instability, cultural diversity, and so many religions fighting for their own existence. In that situation, our founding fathers wanted to achieve socio-economic justice. They wanted to provide liberty, fraternity, and equality. Equality to all sections of the society. They also wanted to achieve social revolution through representative government, independence of judiciary, and so more. When our founding fathers were drafting Indian Constitution, they were not writing on the clean slate. They had before them inspirations of constitutions of various countries, which they adopted in our Indian Constitution as well. For example, we borrowed single citizenship, parliamentary form of government, and rule of law from British Constitution. At the same time, idea of fraternity, equality and liberty was borrowed from French Constitution. US Constitution gave us federal form of government, independence of judiciary and judicial review. Canadian Constitution gave us inspiration of distribution of power between center and state. Fundamental duties were inspired by Constitution of Irish. Soviet Union gave us directive principle of state policy. And last but not the least, Australian Constitution taught us about freedom of trade and commerce. Now, when Indian Constitution was written, it had 395 articles, 22 parts and 8 schedules. But today, after various amendments, we have around 448 articles, 25 parts and 12 schedules. This makes our constitution probably the longest constitution in the world. This is also the modern constitution. Our constitution was drafted by one of the finest minds of the time, like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, B.N. Rao, K.M. Munshi and Sardar Patel. There were many more who contributed in making the constitution as it exists today. But whether this constitution is perfect and successful or not, that we'll discuss in further parts. In this video, we discussed the intent and the need felt to make Indian Constitution. In the next, we will discuss the historical background, the journey of the Indian Constitution from coming of the Britishers in the country. Thank you.